Hey everybody, welcome to the nightly vid for Turnaround Tuesday, and we've got a good one for you. So start with the indexes. We did see SPY continue popping into the top of the triangle, but then comes back in with a shooter signal on the day. If we go to the futures, similar, although a little bit greener. So just because there's a shooter set up doesn't mean it's bearish, but if we see the future stay below this, 6312 on the US 500, at the very least, we'd like to target down in here, 6284. And let me clear this out, make it a little bit more obvious here. Something like that. And, you know, market's pretty strong, so we might even see some higher lows, but that's what we'd want to see. At least take out these guys. Now, we wouldn't want to do it right now, right? We'd ideally want to wait for a setup. So you can see it's going sideways at this point. This is the inside bar. Is that going to cause us to break the mother bar is our question. Maybe, maybe not. Right? What we prefer is where this range gets bigger, so we can actually look to take out both sides of that range and take the mother bar. So we'll just hold off, see what breaks tomorrow, or, probably around 1 or 2 in the morning for the futures guys. But that being said, some of our weaker names that we mentioned, Bitcoin did go 2 up at 322 day, setting up for tomorrow, about 2 hours till it closes out. And at the very least, there's some pivot targets down in here. But that tells us MicroStrategy. So inside day MSTR could cause the 2-2 week down. And, maybe from the highs of this monthly broadening formation here and like so, we see some profit taking. Still, I'm bullish on the Bitcoin type names, but this is a bad looking chart for the bulls and MicroStrategy. If that inside bar kicks in, down in here is where they'd be targeting. That can tell you, we got XRP. Still strong, right? But we might see some profit taken of that back through this previous range. Just some tight stop guys to take out, and still an inside week. If we go back to the indexes to keep talking about them, Q's not quite a shooter, 2 up, comes back in a little bit. We'll see. Dow Jones, shooter on the day with the SPY. And IDBM was already going down. So if SPY and Qs and the Dow all break down tomorrow, we'll have all of the market going down with IDBM being the weakest. If not, we get inside days, then, we're still inside weeks on a lot of this stuff. So if we go into the scanner here, $595 inside weeks, which is about, out of the 1,200, a little less than half, but a lot of these things are inside, which we'll want to be aware of. And you'll see it's a lot of big names: Meta, Goldman Sachs, MasterCard, Microsoft, the stuff that tends to move the market. Now, the question then becomes is, of the daily signals we have setting up, how many of those can cause, some twos down or twos going 3 on the week? And that's what we're here to answer. So let's take a look. We go to 2 up, shooter or red. So you go shooter or 2 up in red at 253 names. So 253 signals that could change things back to the downside. And since we like looking for outside bars on things with higher time frames that align with that, we can look for, a scenario 1 or 3 last week paired with a 2 up plus that shooter / 2 up in red list, and take a look at those guys, see how many outside weeks could occur, starting with VTI, which I'm not sure what they do. This looks like just stock market ETF, so SPY pretty much, Autodesk. So you can see Autodesk did go inside week up 312. However, shooter to counter that. So this could cause outside week to the downside. And this is why, let's go to Monday night vid, Turnaround Tuesday. We'll add that in later, but 2 up red / shooter. We will start with Autodesk potential 1-3 week. And we'll remove that off to the right for now. Keep going down, JP Morgan. So you see inside week last week, shooter on the day. So notice when we scan for an inside bar on the week, plus a 2 up week, plus a shooter day, it's going to give us this condition, right? Slight highs, higher highs, and then the signal. So this is how we can use the strat to really speed up our process as far as what we want to do. And that will tell us maybe Goldman Sachs, not so much, although they're similar. Morgan Stanley, maybe, not so much. Let's go to technology. So tech went 3 last week, shooter on the day. So if that were to kick in, maybe they bring them back through that 3. With the shooter day. Apple. Oh yeah. So notice inside week and up, right? What is that condition? Well, we're taking out this high. Shooter to counter that. Pivot machine gun to take them out really quick. So Apple. I'm gonna put some stars next to that one. I like the PMG on the day. PTC and Technologies, I'm not sure what they do. It looks like incorrect scan on the day. Maybe it's, I'm not sure exactly what the data problem is there, but let's keep going. XYL, which is in the industrials, you'll see 3 and then 2 up in red. Back through that scenario 3 on the week, like this. So if that kicks in, maybe a little further, although it's not the biggest ATR mover. I'm going to start by ATR to see if we can't get some better names in here. Vive. You would see 322. Decent ATR in there. I'm not sure about their options though. PayPal went inside week and up. It is 322 quarter up or 22. And so it's 22 quarter up. But that rev strat week could change things. The reclaim of this daily mother bar here and a shooter on the day. Some stars next to PayPal with financials, since we also have JP Morgan up there, and the XLF sector is countering that weekly signal to the upside. Beam is another one. Oh yeah, look at that daily pivot machine gun to rev strat the week. That's something we look for, although it's not going to be the biggest mover for the smaller count guys. So yeah, some really good PMG setting up for tomorrow. ARKG growth ETF and ARK. Yeah, so this tells us ARKG holdings. Since this looks similar to PayPal, I know PayPal is likely to be in there, but this is where AI comes into play. $80-20 rule, probably just get the top 80% of that ETF, tell them to sort it by the highest holding or highest percent holding. All right, let's take a look and see what we got. Oops. Oh, that's no good. And by the way, for those that are tuning into the nightly stream, feel free to if you have any questions, just let me know. But let's take a look. CRSP, CRISPR. So this is one we had on our quarterly list. What did we talk about? We said can see 68, 70 fast, right? And they did see it pretty quick. And now after taking out our targets, shooter on the day. So maybe you see some blow off tops and profit taking kick in tomorrow. Now you can see the broad information on the week, right? It's just a matter of how likely is it to go outside week? Right? Probably not the most likely. However, it's high volatility names. So these signals become more interesting because they're trading, each day is like a trading week in here. They're going 10% in a day. So can be fun for tomorrow nonetheless. TEM, which is inside week, it could become 3-2 reversal, but inside quarter, I'm not interested. Twist in the bios. Still an inside month. So it looks like, CRISPR is kind of the one lining up the most. Maybe you could see RXRX in ARKG. There's going to be a lot of smaller cap names. But you'll see some reclaim of this and of this. Maybe a 2-2 day to do that. NTRA is going to be one with an inside day in ARKG. Does have earnings coming up. It looks like the end of August. So not this week, but next week. Or oops. Yeah, next week, Thursday. Beam. Yeah, we already got Beam in there, which is a part of the ARKG. Schrodinger. That's interesting. TXG. Genomics. That's a bad looking weekly chart for anyone long in this stuff. If they do start kicking into the downside, yikes. ADPT. No actionable signals, although they have a big PMG down and left. And that would be like, you have no signals right now, but what if you got a triangle layout to the upside, back down in the direction of that? Maybe a good one to look at. A lot of these are smaller, so I'm just going to shy away from them myself, but you can be looking at it. Ions as well. Might have some weekly rev strat kicking in with a shooter day to trigger it in the ARKG. So I'll take a look at that one. Why not? And just to see, is ARKG holding PayPal? I'm not sure, although they look similar, but nonetheless, VCYT, some other random names in here. Looks like that's covering it. And let's see. One thing I have not done yet is this. Save this scan. Oops, I actually clicked the wrong button. That's funny. If we go shooter, or 2 up in red, scanning the current candle, a 2 up. I almost never use quick filters, so let's go with my filters. And we'll start speeding up these nightly vids. So here it is. We're gonna go back to the week and just take a look, see if we missed anything in here. See who's an inside week and has some setups from last week to trigger. And so specifically, we'll go 2 up and scenario 1 from last week. Scenario 1 becomes more interesting to me. We go to COF and WFC in the financials. COF looks like we have an incorrect here. Yep, tends to happen. Yeah, so here it is now. Kava. So inside week last week now. Shooter counters hammer day. It is full time frame continuity down. However, they're already an outside month, so that would have to cause this new inside bar, which was last week going inside, starting this over. You have to cause this to break out below here. And if you could stay out of that, then maybe they bring him down further. Just looking at the revenue, unless something crazy happens, probably not. Let's see, WH. Resorts. Rev strat day to cause inside week down after making higher highs on the week. So you got a nice broadening formation in here, plus the PMG of these guys. It's not the biggest mover in the world, but nonetheless. That looks like that's going to be about it. Maybe the airlines, the Jets ETF. Could turn into a lot of weekly reversals. I'll keep an eye on it tomorrow morning, but we will not put that all on the list just for sake of time. Outside of that, we can go take a look at the inside days. going into tomorrow. So 146 names. Let's take a look at the top ones. LLY is a pretty interesting one. So we had the biotech setting up with ARKG to start coming back maybe on the weekly. Trying to maybe cause an outside month, we'll see. I'm leaning more towards it'll end up being triangle layout to the downside and then back up again, but we're going to track it either way. Spotify, inside day, maybe pivot machine gun back through these guys. We'll see. This broadening formation is getting bigger. Obviously, MicroStrategy. Coin will also be inside day with MicroStrategy for the Bitcoiners. We also see Hood some profit taking, so maybe those guys cool off. All right, let's keep going. CEG and the utilities. Doesn't look like we're getting much to start the week. Maybe they firm those back up if we see, the rest of the market reversing tomorrow. If we don't see staples and utilities holding up, then that could be a little bit of a warning sign, but we'll see. CVX has a pretty big 3-1. They do have earnings coming up, but 3-1 on the week prior to earnings is interesting. XOM also inside. H is also inside. XOP and XLE had a little bit of problems today. Let's see, FANG. Does look like we see a lot of energies cooling off, but I'll keep looking. In the home builders, PHM is a 3-1 day to trigger what would be an inside week down against the month and the quarter signal to the upside. So it could be triangle out, or, down in here, if they do see some market weakness kicking in, this will be one of the weaker names. Looking at the other home builders, KBH looks pretty similar as well. It was one of the weaker ones, so I'll just replace PHM with KBH, so you don't have to watch them all. There's a little bit of interesting stuff going on. We will add spot to the inside day list with LLY. Could have KLAC on there as well. Let's see, SNPS. That was interesting to me. And we'll add CB, which is one of the really far down names so far this month. Outside of that, there's not too much else I want to do. Just keep it nice and simple going into Turnaround Tuesday. What we can say is the gist is shooter, SPY, IWM, QQQ, maybe, or SPY, Dow Jones, QQQ, maybe, IWM going down, potential Turnaround Tuesday across the market. Question: does utilities / staples stay firm, or do we see the whole market reverse? And lots of potential on 3 weeks. And that's the gist. Let's see. Going into silver, did not get to take a look there, but gold and silver, they are firm, which does give you some hint as to rotation. Which tells you JNUG, GDXJ. Still inside weeks there, but we'll see. Got some pretty big consolidations breaking in those guys. So we'll keep an eye on that. And outside of that, here's your list. Some 2 up in reds, potential outside bars. Specifically, we do see ARKG as a good pivot machine gun name. So that's what we will be focusing on the downside if we see it. You also have MicroStrategy and Coin inside days. Daily pivot machine gun / weekly pivot machine gun and MicroStrategy. So we'll see if the Bitcoin stuff starts cooling off, if these guys bring them back. And that is about it. So I'll see you guys for tomorrow night's nightly vid. And if you're in stat, then I'll see you guys bright and early in the morning to trade this stuff. And if you're not, check us out at stratalerts.ai/community. And the scanner that you've seen us using is also at stratalerts.ai/scanner. But adios, guys, and have a good rest of your night.